you want to wait or?
Yeah, boy, it's October 20th, and it's episode 126, and I ain't waiting. And this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets, the Fantasy Football Auctioneers, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyfootballauctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. You can also join us on our all auction Twitter community at FF Auction Advice and connect with auction players from all over the Twitter sphere. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're all over week number 7, waiver wires, injuries, and news items and lineup questions, and much, much more. But of course, our experts, they're always here. He's cleaning off a spot in his man cave, right up there on the wall for this year's deer rack. Blister, you doing some hunting this weekend? And by the way, his man cave is the furnace room. But anyways, Blister, hunting?
Definitely a cave. No hunting. Well, no, that's not exactly true. I'm heading to for a hockey tournament Friday afternoon, but I should be back in time Sunday afternoon to get a little bit of an archery hunt in. So that's my goal. I'm going to strategically place my equipment halfway from the hockey tournament area so that I can stop there on the way back and get a sneak hunt in.
Oh, so do you just keep it in the ditch then, like under some brush, or how does that?
Yeah. Just park the truck there, keep it running, and have everything ready.
Keep it running for the weekend.
Yeah.
All right, and he's all out of Ativan after watching the Blue Jays the last couple of days. Slim, what's going on over there? Big scores against. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's what happens when your pitcher can't get out of the second inning.
It's tough. And then 9 runs in the last 3 innings tonight?
Well, when you got your backup middle infielder coming out for the 9th, it's never a good sign. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well,
I apologize for the extra silkiness to the voice.
Well, I was just going to comment on it, actually. Twofold. One, you've got him on a real microphone tonight. So
pretty gnarly throat condition going, so it's been lovely.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for being patient with Slim's technical difficulties on the microphone. So we do have a good quality mic on him, and now he's got the Smelly Cat Phoebe voice going, so it's good. It's good. It sounds better than you being with the hum in a distance. You sound nice.
Oh, that's good.
All right. Well, nice. It's just a good word. Anyways, okay. Let's get this thing rolling, guys. If you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. All right. So, like I said before, we got everything week 7. We're going to start things off with some questions. Segment number 1. This one's called "We Just Got a Letter." So we just got a letter. Actually, we got some tweets. If you want to tweet us, we are at Fantasy Auction, or you can crowdsource it at FF Auction Advice. Or if 140 characters is not enough for you, you can hit us up on our email account. It's footballauctioneer@gmail.com. So the first question here comes from @Shady_Inc. His question is, does C-Mike run for 100? Or closer to 200. That, in all seriousness, no, he says, what are your expectations for the rest of the year? Kristen Michael, Slim, go.
I'm going to temper my expectations. I just need to see it 1 week. That's all. I mean, we've all had these expectations for a couple of years now, and he's never been able to live up to it. So I'm trying to learn from those mistakes and not get too far ahead of myself. Excuse me. Believe it or not, Darren McFadden kind of has solidified himself as the go-to pass-catching running back now with the Dunbar injury.
Yeah.
Great in PPR leagues. So, not that Michael was going to ever fill that role, but that's just one thing we know that he won't be doing. It seems that the coaching staff has lost a little bit of love for Randall, especially after last week when he was a little bit careless with the ball on the goal line.
Yeah.
I just don't think Randall's ever going to go away, though. So he's going to be kind of a thorn in Michael Owner's sides for probably the rest of the year. Now it's just a matter of how many carries Michael will lose to Randall still. And I think for a while we might see a fairly even mix. But I do think that Michael will kind of bump him out a little bit, but I still think he's going to be there getting, 6 to 8 to maybe even 10 carries every week. You just hope that Michael can get up to about 20 touches every week. And I think he's capable of doing that. It's just, I think that's definitely the ceiling. You should be happy if he can get 15 touches every week, which to me is fairly realistic. So.
Well, and I think any running back, if you can get 15 to 20 touches, you're starting that guy pretty much on any team, right?
Yeah, I really do think that. I don't know if he'll ever be, well, depending on matchups, he will be an RB1 certain weeks. I think rest of the season, I think if you can get high-end RB2 production out of him, that's a win. I just think you got to expect that there may be some weeks that you don't get that, especially with this Romo injury. God only knows what this offense is going to look like with Matt Castle back there. So yeah, they could be playing from behind a lot too, and which isn't going to be a good thing for Michael Owners.
Right, exactly, especially if it's going to be Run DMC catching passes or whatever the case may be.
Well, and everyone talks about the Dallas offensive line, and yes, they're good, but like we talked about this earlier, you still need to be a talented running back to run behind a line like that. You're not just going to rip off 100 yards every game just because they're blocking for you. So we'll see. I mean, we can't just expect him to just become an RB1 just because of this Dallas offensive line. So, and unfortunately, yeah, this offense is kind of a mess right now. They're number one. They have no receivers. Their quarterback is below average. So it's not going to be good for a little bit, I don't think.
All right, Blister, let's go to you. I got two questions for you. The first one is, Slim's voice is very saucy tonight, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. He's gonna
Anyways,
he's going to have some new fans tonight, I think.
We might have to change the rating on the podcast this week.
Well,
getting tired at home.
Yeah, I guess. And we'll send the second question to you here we just got a letter, Blister. This one's from @EricSchaefer73. He's asking the question, should he keep the Bell handcuff in D'Angelo Williams or drop LaFell to add a tight end for the Eifert buy? Did I read that right?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to make sense of that earlier. But no, I think he should drop D'Angelo. I think Bell's going to be playing the most. I mean, if he doesn't get an injury, he's going to be the guy the rest of the way. LaFell, I don't think anybody's going to race to the waiver wire to pick up D'Angelo Williams right now unless Bell got hurt this week. So if he really wants to have the handcuff, he could probably pick him up again next week. But I would keep LaFell. I mean, if you've held on to him this long and he's just about to come back to the starting lineup, I would not be letting him go. I think the safer bet would be to drop Williams there to pick up your buy for Tyler Eifert. And I don't have huge expectations from LaFell this week. I don't know what to expect. I mean, if he does play, it's hard to say how many targets are going to go his way. The New England offense is always a little bit unpredictable. You don't know if they're going to ease him back in or what it's going to be. But I would definitely hold on to him because I think as the season progresses, he could really be helping you come playoff time or help you push you into the playoffs.
For sure. So we only had 2 Twitter questions tonight, guys. So everyone must be really set with their lineups and their waiver wires. But we will hit to more waivers later on in the episode. So let's roll into segment number 2, guys. This one is called Fantasy Football News, Buy or Sell. So in the buy or sell, we take a look at the latest fantasy football headlines and our experts buy or sell the implications of the news headline. First one reads, guys, Victor Cruz could return week 8. So it's according to NFL.com, quoting from them, he got hurt, he got better, he threw a party, he got hurt again. I do like that kind of line. And we may actually finally see Victor Cruz on the field for week 8. They're saying that it's with guarded optimism. He's still scheduled for an MRI on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And if it comes back clean, he could get clearance to practice this week. So, Lester, buy or sell? Cruz is a great waiver wire stash this week because he's an instant wide receiver 2 when he comes back.
Yeah, I think if you really are interested in picking up Cruz, now's the time to do it, because if you wait till next week, it could cost you a lot more. So you might be able to get him at a cheaper deal. I'm not sold on him being an instant wide receiver 2 when he comes back. I'd have to see something first, like Slim was talking with somebody there earlier. You want to see it first, like with Michael. I'd like to see him play a little bit, see how many, we don't know if he's going to come in on a snap count or whatever it's going to be. But with Odell Beckham probably garnering the most attention, and Eli probably a little better at making the short pass, I think nobody else has really stepped up and solidified that number 2 role in New York. So I like his chances to do that. I just think it could still take a few weeks once he gets back under the playing field. It could take him a few weeks to hit full stride.
All right, let's move on to headline number 2. Slim, this one's coming to you. Steelers preparing Landry Jones to start at quarterback. So Landry Jones got the job done on Sunday, and it sounds like the Steelers may just lean on him again here for week number 7. Mike Tomlin, of course, is being a little bit cheeky. Says he's playing it by ear, but we know Big Ben's got the knee, and surprise, surprise, Mike Vick's nicked up with a hamstring. So the Steelers are focusing on getting Landry ready for the upcoming matchup against the Chiefs. So, Slim, buy or sell? This makes Martavis Bryant a wide receiver 2 this week, because what we saw on the weekend was Landry Jones loves Martavis. Slim? Did we lose him? He's posing.
He seems to be.
Blister, what do you think?
He seems to be pretty still. Oh, I hope it's not Landry Jones. I hope it's Big Ben coming back, because I just did a little draft on Skill Zone, and I took Antonio Brown as my number 1 receiver because I thought Big Ben might come back. But, even if Landry Jones, he did connect with Martavis Bryant well on the weekend, it's a little worrisome. He's going into Arrowhead, which is not an easy place to play typically. But then again, the Chiefs' passing defense has been horrendous as well. So, he's a guy I'd watch. I worry, and I definitely would temper my expectations for the receiving and the passing game. I think you might want to lean a little heavier on Le'Veon Bell this week again. But I'm worried. I'm hoping Big Ben comes back. That's for sure. No, I see 2 Slims down there.
I see 2 Slims. Slim, you're back?
Yeah, sorry. Damn solar flares messing up my Wi-Fi.
The solar flares now. All right, let's.
Did you hear about the solar flares that are going on?
No.
Oh man. Yeah.
That's what's happening. We'll explain that for your voice too. That'd be nice. The solar flares just heating.
Oh, that's just shitty immune system.
Vitamin C, man. Vitamin C. Stock up. And butter in your coffee. Those are the 2 things that. Yeah.
I haven't had that all year, Bex.
Butter coffee?
Yeah.
Bulletproof coffee?
I haven't had it.
Oh, man.
I haven't been bulletproofing.
Well,
I'm not bulletproof.
I'm going to need it tomorrow. I got early trip to the choke tomorrow, so heavy butter tomorrow. Anyways, we'll continue on. So let's go to you on this one then, and we'll start the flip-flop back. Again, you got the Dez Bryant one now, Slim. So Dez Bryant, quote-unquote, could go for Week 7. So before the bye, the Cowboys were talking about, maybe Dez was going to return to the lineup for the Giants in Week 7. And it looks right now that he's had a good end of the week last week, and he's got some really good work in him. So things are going well, we think. So basically, Dez says if you feel comfortable making your cuts, then if you do, then you go on. And if you don't, then you'll wait a week. So we're going to wait and see, but it looks like he could go for Week 7. So Slim, buy or sell. If Dez starts, he'll be a wide receiver 2 at best because he's been off for so long and because the guy that's throwing the ball to him couldn't even make the Bills as a quarterback.
I'm going to buy it more for the second part than the first part. I mean,
Okay.
It's definitely going to come back down to quarterback play. But, I mean, it is Dez Bryant, and we've seen in the NFL that sometimes it doesn't matter who's throwing you the ball. So, I mean, to me, he's definitely a wide receiver 2 if he plays this week. He might even approach wide receiver 1 numbers. The thing is, when you have a crummy quarterback, a lot of the times they might just force feed him the ball or try to. He could get pumped with targets. So we're seeing it with DeAndre Hopkins this year. Brian Hoyer just loves looking for him, and I guess why not? I mean, he's the best weapon you have, so
right.
It makes sense to get the ball in his hands. But so yeah, for sure he's a wide receiver 2. But he's definitely going to be limited somewhat by Matt Castle's ability.
All right. Let's move to another one here. This one's for you, Blister. Tyrod Taylor plans to practice on Wednesday. So the Bills quarterback Tyrod Taylor was moving from station to station, working with my arch nemesis rival team, the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We dislike them because they're from North London, and I'm a gooner. Anyways, I think probably only Mr. Auction understood any of what I just said in that sentence. Unfortunately, he's a Liverpool fan, though. But anyways, so he was working from station to station during the event on Tuesday with the Buffalo players and the Tottenham Hotspur players. Taylor said that he plans to practice on Wednesday. It's his mindset right now to get out there on Wednesday and practice, and he's looking forward to it. So, Blister, buy or sell. If Tyrod starts, he's a QB1 and a must start this week.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty safe start if he's playing. He's been putting up some solid fantasy numbers week in and week out, and I think they have Jacksonville this week, and I think they need a rebound from an ugly effort last week. So I think I would start him. I think he'd be a good cheap play in daily fantasy sports as well. So keep an eye on him because he seems to be able to put up some consistent numbers when he's playing.
All right. Answering that
quick question
there. All right, so let's we're going to move on to the Brandon LaFell stuff because we spoke to it earlier, and this one's going to you, Slim. Brandon LaFell could play in Week 7, as we just mentioned earlier. So the New England Patriots 7 as wide receiver Brandon LaFell is eligible to come off the pup and play versus the New York Jets. So he's been seen wearing a walking boot during the offseason. He missed all training camp and was placed on the pup before the season. But it looks like he could be ready to go here for Week 7, and he could be playing versus Revis Island. So, Slim, buy or sell? If LaFell starts, he's an instant starter on your football team because Tom Brady is tossing him the pigskin.
I'm going to sell that. It is a tough matchup. With this type of injury, I mean, you got to really follow what he's doing in practice. I think that it'll definitely take a week or two before he gets back into full game shape. To me, he's not the type of receiver, like Dez Bryant is, or even Julio Jones we see with his hamstring, where if those guys suit up and throw the pads on, you have to start them. LaFell is kind of, obviously not quite as physically gifted as those guys. So I think it's going to be a little bit harder for him to, just come in and make an impact right away. So you're going to want to see it a little bit, and I think this isn't the week that you'd want to put him in there.
All right. So there it is. There's some quick run-through of some news headlines in the fantasy football world. Again, it's Tuesday when we're recording, so lots of stuff is going to happen here. Always keep an eye on the injury reports and the practice lists. And speaking of the injury reports, that means that the waiver wire is going to be a popular item for most guys getting ready for Week 7. So let's move into our third segment here. This one's called Live Wire. So on Live Wire, our guys take a look at the waiver wire and your fab budgets and talk to you about guys you should be targeting heading into Week 7. Blister, hit us up with your first guy you're looking at the waiver wire.
Well, we just mentioned Brandon LaFell, so I'm going to skip over Brandon LaFell. I mean, I don't know how many waiver wires he's on. You got those numbers anyways?
I can do it for you right now. Hold on.
Well, you get that, though. You can have that. While you're there, grab James Starks' numbers, okay?
Oh, yeah.
James Starks might be owned.
Week.
I mean, he's looking good, and Eddie Lacy is not right now. So I think that and unless Eddie Lacy starts to get a little bit quicker and show some burst, and James Starks has been showing that, I think Eddie Lacy is going to start losing touches to James Starks because he's not really getting the job done. And It's unfortunate at this point. I think the schedule is favorable as you look forward, but I mean, he started slow last year, Eddie Lacy. Big man, typically not in the greatest of shape sometimes. He kind of looks like a big, giant fridge running out there when he is, but Starks had a nice game last week against San Diego. They were the 25th ranked run defense, and Eddie Lacy was in that game, and he didn't look that great. So keep an eye on James Starks, and if he's out there, wrestle him away from the waiver wire.
All right, so just so you know, Brandon LaFell is owned in 51% of Yahoo leagues, so that means in half the leagues out there, he's on the wire. And James Starks, who I also have here on the list, is only owned in 22% of leagues. And in fact, I find that to be fairly high, I think. But I guess they're Eddie Lacy handcuffs. But with them being on a bye this week, that's a pretty sneaky pickup right now because guys aren't necessarily looking, you know what I mean, to pick up a guy on a bye to play this week. So I kind of like that idea.
That's I like it when you do it like that too.
Yeah. All right. So Slim, talk to us about someone you have on the waiver right now.
Sticking with running backs, I want to just touch on Theo Riddick. This will make Blister happy.
You're my boy, Blue.
I can't remember if we talked about him a couple weeks ago either.
I think we did a couple weeks ago, but that's okay. Keep going.
Anyway, I think you would want to look to spend about 10% of your budget on him if you can. The Lions' defense has been fairly bad. I mean, we just saw them give up 34 points to the Bears. Joik Bell is working his way back from injury still, and he sucks even when he does come back. Amir Abdullah can't hang on to the football. So you get all these things, a defense that's allowing points, they're playing from behind. There's not really much in the way of other running back competition. It stacks up well for Theo Riddick. I mean, they're going to have to pass the ball. He should get on the field even just because the other running backs suck. So, I mean, even if he doesn't rush the ball in PPR leagues, he should be getting lots of love in your PPR league. So, yeah, I think, you spend about 10% of your budget. This guy's going to be, I think, going forward for the rest of the season, he should be involved quite heavily in this offense. So go and get him now.
What happened to Amir Abdullah? He was the second coming of Christ during the preseason.
That's what people do when they see, hey, think of all the people that overpaid for Sam Bradford because of one preseason game.
Yeah,
how's
that's
that
right.
looking for everyone right now?
Well,
Pretty shitty.
Well, when you think about that too, like we were talking with a gentleman at school there today, and we were talking about all the first-round draft picks, and our first round of our rookie draft this year, and how many of those guys are really, paying dividends right now. And, Amari Cooper, that I think Uncle Bucks took, is probably the only guy that's kind of been putting up fantasy numbers. Todd Gurley is kind of starting to. I mean, he started off injured, but the rest of these guys haven't been too thrilling so far. I mean, it's a rookie draft, but I guess you got to temper your expectations. Last year there are some pretty big time rookies, but I think this is a little more realistic of what actually happens.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you're right. Everyone was spoiled, and that's one thing you read is that if you started your dynasty league the year prior, you thought that's what rookies always did, right?
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
All right. Who's up? You're up, right, Blister?
How about Stephon Diggs? Stephon Diggs over there down below us? And
I was at the game, and he looked good. He was open all the time. Teddy was looking for him. He looked good. Even Hayden was yelling, "Stephon Diggs!" He was pumped. So.
Well, going into the season, we were all talking Charles Johnson as being a nice little sleeper candidate this year, and he got banged up, and he hasn't produced much when he's been on the field. Past 2 weeks, Diggs, 13 of 19 targets for over 200 yards, and he's been looking good. And like you said, you saw him live, and he looked good. He had a good preseason, a good training camp, and now he's starting to show it during the regular season. So I think he's got a low ownership still at this point. I think you better try to get him if he's out there.
All right. Slim, you got anyone else? As I'm finishing up this in the man, you got to have somebody.
Just somebody just to take a flyer on, and someone whose ownership might be even fairly high, or probably is, but it's kind of like Mike Floyd. He's kind of been the forgotten man this year, last year, people were down on him. He's let a lot of owners down. It seems like he's starting to finally become a little bit more relevant in this offense again. He found the end zone last week. He got 5 passes on 8 targets. That's a good sign. He's still behind Larry Fitzgerald and John Brown, but with Carson Palmer there, that's shown that this offense is capable of supporting a few weapons. So Floyd, you can probably get him for very cheap if he's available. You can probably only get him for 2% of your budget. I would definitely look to make a flyer on him, and with bye weeks, with us right in the middle of bye weeks and everything, he could come in handy maybe for you as a bye week filler.
He is owned in a third of leagues actually, so he's only owned in 33% of leagues. So he's relatively available, and
that's low.
Readily, 33%.
I thought it'd be about 50%.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a little bit more too. I was a little surprised to see that. So, anyways, that's his availability. So he should be out there. I know I held him and didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah, that's the thing with the guy like that for sure.
All right, Blister, you got anyone else?
Well, I'm going to mention Julius Thomas. I mean, he's owned probably in quite a few leagues. I think I have it actually 68% on ESPN, 78% on Yahoo. But if he's out there still in 22 to 32% of the leagues, you got to look for him because he actually started off with 13 targets last week. So that's pretty good. They're looking for him already. I think this is going to, there's not enough balls to go around. I think this could hurt Allen Hurns a little bit because I think Allen Robinson's going to still be the number one. But a guy like Julius Thomas could be a tight end that people kind of wrote off, and if he's going to get 13 targets and like last week 78 yards and a touchdown going forward, he could be a guy that a team that could be trailing a lot, could be throwing the ball a lot, and he could become a quarterback's favorite.
Ooh. All right. So anyone else you guys have on the list, or are we done and moving on? I got one more click to do here. And
Rashard Matthews from the Dolphins. I think he's owned roughly about 50% of the leagues, but that guy has been really consistent.
Yeah.
Catching passes, PPR, a real nice PPR player. So, I mean, Jarvis Landry isn't doing terrible himself, but Rashard Matthews is right there with him. So, if he's out there, go get him. I think I saw 50% of the leagues roughly that he was owned in. So.
Yahoo leagues right on 50. Mr. Blister owns them in the auction.
I do.
Blister.
Oh, the auction.
Oh, the auction.
Come on, dear football Jesus, make me a winner this week.
Football Jesus, that's good. All right, guys, if you don't have anyone else to add to Livewire?
That's good enough.
It's all good.
All right, awesome. We're moving right along. We're moving into segment number 4, guys. This one's called This Is the Man. So in This Is the Man, we pit expert versus expert in a head-to-head battle of lineup selection supremacy. So, yeah, you're like, oh, that's pretty good, hey? So we take a look.
Really very
not
nice.
Not even on the script. Like, that's ad lib. Sorry, I'm just patting myself on the back here. I know you're right.
Say it again.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even know what I said. So what we do is we take a look at a matchup of players that are deep on the list. Maybe some wide receiver 2 type 3 type guys, some flex type position guys, deep streaming quarterbacks, streaming tight ends, those types of things. And the guys take a look at it and say, who's going to score more points in that given week? So we did miss week 5, so just kind of keep that in mind when we take a look at the total numbers. But heading into week 6, Slim was up. This is the accurate score, correct? 23-15?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
So depressing. My eyes will water up every time I look at it, so I can't tell.
All right.
Looking for a glitch in the system tonight.
Blister, let's take a look. You were actually with Sam Bradford. Let's take a look and see if you gain any points in week 6. So the quarterback matchup, Slim took Peyton Manning and Blister took Sam Bradford, and the survey says that Peyton Manning scored 0.2 more points than Sam Bradford, so Slim gets a point there. At the running back position, we took a look at Darren Sproles versus Niall Davis. Both of you took Sproles and 1.7 points. Not enough to beat Niall Davis and his 3.5. And I will say,
Ooh.
the running game looked horrendous in Minnesota, and I felt they just didn't go to it enough either.
Oh, Kansas City's
It was
in
so ugly.
shambles.
So ugly.
Defensively, offensively, they're just
anything.
They might as well just quit football.
And I really thought, because they were backed up, just quit football. They were backed up a lot, right? So I thought, okay, well, I mean, they're gonna have to, get something kind of rolling here and establish some sort of rhythm. And they just, especially in that first half, they were just backed up all day long, but they weren't running the football. So, anyways, Niall Davis only scored 3.5 points, but it was enough to beat Darren Sproles. So no one scores there. At the second running back position, we did Andre Ellington versus Ronnie Hillman, and Ronnie Hillman had a decent day at 14.5 points. And both of you took them, so you both scored points there. At the first wide receiver matchup, we had Pierre Garçon versus Andre Johnson, the two Frenchies. And Garçon outscored Andre Johnson, and Slim was the beneficiary of that and scored a point. At the wide receiver position, the waiter. He's a pepper boy? Yeah, you like it a pepper? I used to love that skit. It's hard to find. Anyways, wide receiver position number 2 is Jameson Crowder versus Martavis Bryant, and unfortunately we didn't predict Bryant to go off like that. So neither of you scored a point because you both took Crowder. At the tight end position, both of you took Jacob Tamme over Derek Carrier, and Carrier snuck it out there by 1.8 points, so no one scores. At the flex position, you both took the Black Unicorn over Rashad Jennings, and you were both correct on that one. And then at the DST, both of you took the Vikings DST, which was good in the first half. Didn't really love what I saw in the second half, just being there anyways, over the Bills, and the Bills scored a whopping -3 according to our scoring. And so you both scored a point there. So overall for week 6, Slim 5, Blister 3. So that, well, it really does add to things. I think that actually is the new total is 23.15. I think that's correct.
I think that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, and that's what it is. That's the new total after week 6. I apologize. My spreadsheet I calculated already. All right, well, Blister, let's do it in week 7. Hopefully I got some here where there's some splits, and you can make a mount
As
a
the
comeback
loser.
here. As the loser, you will go first.
I get the pleasure of going first.
So again,
Well,
no like the obvious ones. Yeah. We're going to take a look at matchups like this one here. You probably drafted Matt Stafford to be your starter, and now you're like, oh, I picked up Bortles on the waiver. Who am I starting? So the first matchup at the quarterback position, Blister, is Blake Bortles hosting Buffalo, or Matthew Stafford hosting the Minnesota Vikings.
We'll give me a little Blake Bortles here. Blake Bortles is actually the 4th-ranked quarterback right now in fantasy points. Now, Stafford's actually 9th, though, as crummy as he's actually been. He finally had a good game on Sunday. But I'm going to take Bortles. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks behind them that have they've got a game in hand, so that could change and will change. But I'll go with some Blister Blake Bortles.
The triple Bs. Slim, what about you? Matt Stafford or Blake Bortles?
Well, Matt Stafford is dead to me now, so I think I told Blister that a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to go with Bortles. I mean, Buffalo's weakness is their passing, is their secondary, so we saw Marvin Jones carve them up once they decided they were going to do everything they could to keep A.J. Green from catching the ball, so I could see something very similar like that happening this week too.
And what an athletic play to score that touchdown, hey, with the dive and the reach and the...
It's about break your neck doing it, but
yeah,
hey,
but it was wicked. Making a last-minute change here too, guys. Last minute, and keeping you guys on your toes, even though because you think you know, but you have no idea. All right, so running back number 2, just because I saw we had Jennings already in from last week. So at the first running back position, this one's coming to you. It's Christian Michael at the New York Football Giants, or Theo Riddick. Both guys we just spoke to, who is hosting the Vikings.
Well, I really love Riddick this week. To me, I have him as my RB19 in PPR leagues. I'm going to go with Riddick. I think there's a chance that Michael could produce right up there with him. But again, I'm going to go with the guy that I've seen do it so far this year in Riddick.
All right, Blister, what about you taking Michael or Riddick? Michael Riddick actually sounds like a movie star character. Anyways.
Like a boxer or something.
Yeah,
I got to go with my boy Theo. It's disappointing, and hopefully we don't lose too many listeners or followers because of this, but I think he might be the best running back on my dynasty team right now. Well, I got to have faith in him. It's sad. And, by the way, the crappy dynasty team, it's 5-1. It's unbelievable. It's going to come crashing down. It's just a matter of time, because it's not that good. When Theo Riddick and Charles Sims are your best two running backs, I kind of expected Charles to be like a number one and be the best one, but not because he's just catching passes. They are my best two. Theo is by far my best. It was supposed to be C.J. Anderson, but that didn't work out.
That didn't work out for him.
Well, what can you do?
What can you do? Well, I mean, I got Devonta Freeman, and who would have thought he'd be doing what he's doing? I almost dealt him before the season, too, and I think after week one I almost dealt him.
Just to move up a lot.
Yeah.
You tried it to draft deal him. Oh, man. Would have been wicked.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, that's a good transition into the RB2 matchup here, Blister.
Oh, there he is.
Because it is going to you. Charles Sims at the Washington Redskins or Isaiah Crowell at the St. Louis Rams.
Geez, that friggin' backfield in Cleveland is kind of disgusting. Nobody's really running away with anything. I know Washington's a pretty tough matchup, but I like Sims' pass catching ability, and like I said, if I'm gonna show love for my number one RB, I gotta show some for my number two. So in Dynasty, so Charlie, I don't want you to feel left out. I still got faith in you, brother.
All right, Slim, what about you? Is it Crowell or is it Sims?
Well, I'm closer friends with Sims than obviously Blister because I know him as Chuck, so I'm going to go with Chucky.
Chucky.
I like him slightly ahead of Crowell. I do like that Crowell is still somewhat involved in the passing game, and Duke Johnson did bang up his shoulder, but I just think it's going to be real tough sledding for them on the ground. He could get wiped out by that defense, so I like Sims.
All right, I'm just making note of Chucky and Charlie because it may be a graphic for the pod. Just all of a sudden came to me. All right, so let's go to wide receivers now, and Slim, it's going to you. Guys, a guy we spoke to prior in this episode and someone Blister talks about all the time. So let's take a look at Stephon Diggs at the Detroit Lions or Golden Tate hosting those same Vikings. A lot of this matchup today.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Diggs. I like what he's doing. I like the amount of targets that he's getting. He's shown that he can run good routes, which is crazy considering where he was drafted. But, I mean, this was a guy, if anyone that plays Dynasty, that you hopefully had on your radar as a late-round receiver and a guy that could potentially break out, and he's showing that right now. So I'm going to keep riding this hot hand and go with Diggs.
All right, Blister, how about you highlighting the cursor there? Is that any indication? Is that foreshadowing, as the English teachers would say?
Yeah, if I knew how to type it in, I would have done it, but I was the one thunder. But I'm going to go with the Minnesotan Stephon Diggs as well.
Wow, against Golden Tate.
You know, Golden Tate's up for a buy and sell or trade on the Fantasy Dynasty team, if anybody's interested. Looking for Allen Robinson in return.
Oh, is that all you're looking for?
That's it. Just nothing much.
All right, sounds good. How about the next one here? Let's go Terrence Williams, Blister, who is at the Giants, or Jarvis Landry, who is hosting the Houston Texans.
I'm going to go with Landry here. I still think he does get lots of looks, lots of targets, and he just seems to have a little more consistency than Terrence. Terrence is disappointing. He's good for a couple big games over the course of 16, but he just doesn't put it together like you'd expect him to, especially with Dez Bryant out and everything. You'd think that he would have been the man, but he just can't handle it, I guess.
Not so. All right. And how about you, Slim?
Oh, this one is Landry by a landslide. I think he's just outside of my wide receiver ones this week. I like his matchup this week.
All right. Let's move on to the tight end position. Slim, going back or staying with you. Ben Watson at the Indianapolis Colts or Jason Witten at the Giants.
I'm gonna go with Witten. I don't like the fact that Matt Castle's the quarterback, but
Not many do.
I don't think that Matt Castle will be able to throw the ball deep down the field, so that means that Witten could catch a decent amount of short passes. Watson's kind of the hot pick, but I mean, we haven't seen anything like that ever from him that we saw last week. That was like his career,
really nice guy,
right there in one game. So I'm not going to get too excited about what we saw from Watson.
He's a really nice guy, though, according to Drew Brees. Really nice, just a perfect teammate. Really a nice guy. And I just couldn't get over, like, he was almost blushing talking about him after that game. Anyways, Buster, what about you, taking Watson or Witten?
I'm also going with Witten. I think they could be fairly close, but I like Slimmy said, I don't expect Benjamin to put up numbers like he did last week, and I don't know. Witten sometimes worries me because he's old and he can throw up a goose egg here and there, but if they use him properly, he can also catch 9 or 11 passes in a game quite easily and look for him in the end zone too. So go with Witten.
All right, and then at the flex position, I actually have two guys that kind of suit that flex position quite well. Let's take a look at Dexter McCluster-Blister, who is hosting the Atlanta Falcons, or Tavon Austin, who is hosting the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I don't like either of those guys, but I'm going to go with Tavon Austin. They're coming off the bye, and I think that he has got the ability to break a big play and score. So I just think that I don't know, that Tennessee, whatever you want to even call him, a cluster running back, receiver, hybrid, I don't know. They're all garbage. So also have Terrence West and Bishop Sankey available in leagues too. Everybody just call me. The friggin' phone's ringing off the hook.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I don't know. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Anyways, okay, forget it. But Tavon Austin, I know what I was going to say, as quoted from one of our, I was going to say good friend. He's a good friend, just kidding. He's hasn't been terrible.
No, he hasn't been. No.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible. Not terrible. It's not terrible. But I mean, I like him. I get along with him really good and everything. But that's always the next part too, right? Well, I get along with him good and everything. I like to joke around with him and stuff, but
it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. And then he'll tickle you. Anyway, sorry. He doesn't listen. He has no idea what we're talking about.
Listeners right now.
No, we're not. No one is listening.
People just shut this.
We're just the three of us in our own little world.
It's part of the appeal. All right, what about you, McCluster or Tavon Austin?
I'm also going to go with Tavon Austin as well. He's got that big play potential, which I like. So the Cleveland secondary isn't that great. He might sneak in a couple rushing attempts even. So actually, there's pretty much a guarantee I think that he's going to get a couple rushing attempts. So and he has done well with them this year when he's got them. So I like that.
How about DFS? He's the DST flex stack, right? Could return one.
Tavon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he's got some good special teams upside, too, for sure.
Yeah, so that's a stack with the DST, right? So if the Rams can shut down the prolific offense that is the Cleveland Browns.
Well, they are also my number one defense for the week, too. So
the Rams?
The Rams are?
Yeah, I like them. I was picking them up in daily fantasy because they're cheap.
There you go. Now, all of a sudden, we just brought out a DFS podcast just like that. So if you're gonna play,
I play Tickle Monster this week in the Dynasty. He just whooped me in the auction this week. Now he gets to beat me now 2 weeks in a row.
I think you were the beat
He's gonna lose his mind as soon as on the treadmill tomorrow morning.
Anyways,
So what's the beatdown of the week? Though? Wasn't it Blister? You got tickled down of the week?
I probably did. Yeah, I got eliminated. I'm sure from Survivor. It doesn't tell you anything on the stupid app, but I'm pretty sure I had the lowest score of the week. So
I think you put that in there, didn't you, Slim? Commish?
Yeah, I did tonight.
It just doesn't show up on the app or whatever here. You can't read any messages. But yeah, it was a tough week. I mean, he won, the Niners won, and I can't remember what everything came together from this week. That was a pretty proud moment. He was going to text me when he knew he had it in the bag, and he held off on that. So he's probably superstitious that it would have affected the
Now
rest
you're going to get a knob flick tomorrow at work for all this comments. Right.
No, not the knob flick. Dang.
It's been a good last 5 minutes here. I've enjoyed it anyways. It's been not terrible. Slim, this one's going to you at the DST. It's the Patriots who are hosting the Jets or the Chargers who are hosting the Raiders.
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I got them ranked fairly close, but I just think that I like a Bill Belichick defense just over the Chargers at least to, maybe force a couple turnovers or something like that. Even though this Jets offense has looked good lately, I must admit.
Yeah, it's true. The passing game is not too shabby. What about you, Blister? Are you taking the Chargers or your Pats?
I think that is going to be a close one, but I better stick with my Pats. I think that Fitz come off a pretty big game last week, but Fitz can also quickly turn it around and throw 3 pick-sixes the next week, so let's hope that happens this week.
Well, I was hoping for a lot of splits here this week, and not so much. Not a one, actually, guys. So
you're saying there's a chance, but don't lose any ground
this week. So you'll be starting next week, Blisters. Week 8, this is the man, just so you know.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
I'm ready.
Let's recap week 7 and the picks, guys. So both of you are taking Bortles over Stafford. Both of you are taking Theo Riddick over Kristen Michael. You both like Charles Sims more than Isaiah Crowell. You're both on the Stephon Diggs bandwagon over Golden Tate. You both like Jarvis Landry more than Terrence West, and also Jason Witten more than Ben Watson. Tavon Austin is your pick over Dexter McCluster, and finally, both of you are taking the Patriots DST over the Chargers. Hey, we still have one viewer. He's still on there.
Hi, Mom.
Make sure my truck's running so I can go hunting when I get back from hockey. See how I did that? I brought it back full circle, and we're done. You see how I did that?
And we're done. And that is a wrap for our career.
That is a wrap. So you two are going to see the Tickle Monster tomorrow, and I'm going to the Choke. And for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.